Disturb not the harmony of fire, ice, or lightning, lest these titans wreak destruction upon the world in which they clash. Though the water's great guardian shall arise to quell the fighting, alone its song will fail, and thus the earth shall turn to ash. O chosen one, into thine hands bring together all three, their treasures combined tame, the beast of the sea. Now it begins.
Nice.
God damn, it's just fucking perfect, bro. That guitar riff, God, that sends me back. No, wait, no, don't send me back. I don't like Florida. The year was 2005. That was the year when I first watched this movie. I assumed that only one movie existed. I only had Kids WB and a few basic cable channels to watch, so I viewed a lot of the Johto League and some of the Indigo League episodes when they were rerun. So I was completely unaware that a second movie even existed. Well, I figured it had to exist. When I was 8 years old, my cousin gave me Pokemon the third movie, Lord of the Unknown Tower, so I assumed that there was a second movie, but I just hadn't seen it. It wasn't until my family and I moved to America's Penis that I witnessed this movie in the flesh. For those that don't know, America's Penis is Florida. It's Florida, you guys. That's right, this vengeful spirit using a fox princess as a marionette was a Florida man at one point. Shout out to Hollywood, Florida, the literal worst place to live ever. Though I guess this place is what made me love Pokemon even more. It's where I got my first game in the series, Pokemon Sapphire. Moving is never easy, nor is it fun. It was rather sporadic for us, in fact. We sort of left everything behind and moved. I had to leave all of my friends behind. I started the 4th grade a month into the school year, since Florida starts their years a little bit earlier than where I currently live, so it was hard to settle in and make friends. But I ended up making a ton of them, all of them being Pokemon fans just like I was. I remember talking about the first movie and the third one, comparing Mewtwo to Entei, when a friend of mine said, "What about Lugia? Do you not like it?" What the fuck is a Lugia? Wait, you've never seen Pokemon 2000? Guys, my third eye was open. I entered the Avatar state. My Pokemon 2000 virginity was stripped from me, like my IRL virginity was stripped from me at Becky's birthday bash on January 29th, 2014, at exactly 8:49 p.m. I walked into the light, a changed fox. There are some things you don't forget in life. Pokemon 2000 is one of those things. And Becky's birthday bash. In all actuality, she just let me borrow it for a weekend. And no, it wasn't Becky. This girl was named Ariel. But man, what a weekend that was. Me in my room with my pet bird, a shitty box TV, the bed sheets over it so it felt like a theater. 9-year-old me was a baller. Sometimes I wish I could return to those times. Let me tell you, I played that movie over and over again for that entire weekend. It was magnificent. Of course, I can't rely on the perspective of 9-year-old me. I have to rewatch this movie to see if it's as awesome as it is. Spoiler alert, it is. And without further ado, let's begin this movie. The cold open of this movie is a notch above the first one in so many ways. While the first one, we get to see Mewtwo awakening and seeing the events that shaped it and led to it making the choices it did, this one is far more haunting. In what way? We are told of a legend, and we see the inscription on it in runes we do not understand. The camera zooms out, and you see 3 islands in the distance. Hear the voice of a faceless man reading that same old legend. But this man has a nefarious purpose. He cares not for the legend. No, he cares for the what of the legend. His computer's analysis concludes that the titans described in the legend are Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and he sets out to catch them. We see his giant airship floating above the islands, and his guns firing ice balls at Fire Island. Soon, the fire Pokemon Moltres appears. It fights, but is unable to avoid being captured, and like a chess piece, this man collects it and moves on, setting his eyes on Lightning Island and Ice Island as well. Bring together all 3, their treasures combined tame, the beast of the sea, Lugia. And there, you see what he wants. He cares not for Articuno, Zapdos, or Moltres. No, to him, those 3 Pokemon are collection pieces. He yearns to catch the largest one of them all, Lugia. This opening contrasts so differently to the first movie. In the first movie, we get philosophical questions about life, how to live it, and what our destiny is. We see Mewtwo saying that Pokemon caught by trainers are nothing more than slaves. Pikachu claims that this isn't the case, and a fight ensues. This one, we get to see what Mewtwo was saying, in a sense. Moltres was captured, not for the sake of battle, but because it is a prize. An item to be captured, enslaved, just because one man wants it. We get to see the disgusting side of humanity on display, the very thing that Mewtwo spoke of in the first movie, and as an opening, I think it's one hell of a way to start. This man's smirk as he stares at the board, and it cuts to the depths of the ocean is haunting for that mere notion. Lugia already senses a disturbance, yet it continues on, swimming forward and staying in the depths. For now, we cut to our heroes, Ash, Misty, and wait a minute, who the fuck is this guy? So, going from Pokemon the first movie straight into 2000, you are left confused. I didn't watch the Orange Island arc when I was a kid, so I was wondering where Brock went. Instead, I get this Diet Dr. Bob posing as Brock. You see, back in the early days of Pokemon, it was thought by some that Brock was a racial stereotype, so in the beginning of the Orange Island arc, he was removed and replaced with Tracy. But a lot of people like Brock more, which is why he returned at the end of the Orange Island arc and headed to Johto with Ash and Misty, leaving Tracy behind, stuck to the fresh hell that is Professor Oak's lab. Our Pokemon go to die. Well, not really, but come on. Seeing him confused me, but I was young and I didn't care. I just wanted to see what was going on. We get the intro and I'm brought back. I used to play this version of Pokemon World because I loved it way more. Also, we get to see Baby Lapras, which is so adorable. For those who don't know, my three favorite types of Pokemon are Fairy, Ice, and Water, and Lapras is my top favorite of the Water type, and it's just because of this movie. Seeing her splashing around and smiling is adorable. I also love how Ash almost fucking sinks the boat by releasing Snorlax. Bro, you almost killed everyone. Now, I know what you must be thinking. Seriously, a Titanic reference in a Pokemon video, but you guys don't understand. It's just a contractual thing. I have to do it. It's a thing. I must include Titanic in everything. You guys don't understand. It's in my lifeblood. I just have to do it. You'll understand one day. Not today, though. But you'll have to get used to it. All right? Is that a thing? Okay. I'm not holding you hostage or anything. All right? Just get used to it. Okay. Suddenly, storm clouds roll in. Their fun day on the ocean is interrupted, and everything starts going haywire. While watching this, I couldn't help but think back to Mewtwo Returns and remembering the storm that Mewtwo formed in that one. Boy, if I had a nickel for every movie where the main characters had to deal with a storm, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. We cut back to Delia Ketchum and her husband Mr. Mime, who is tending to her garden. We also see Professor Oak, greeting her as he goes about his morning bike ride. We get to see some drastic changes in the weather as well as Pokemon acting oddly. This is when we begin to see that the Pokemon across the world can feel something. Something we cannot see, but they're incredibly upset about it. Returning to Ash & Co., they end up landing on Shamudi Island, which is located in the very center of the Orange Archipelago. As they leave the boat, they're attacked by the locals, their organs are harvested, and their bodies are sacrificed at the altar where tourists can... Okay, that was a fucking joke, but come on, I'm not the only one who thought about that, right? Imagine you land on an island you've never been to before, and these people are dressed up like birds and shit. When you have that reaction, of course, they're just natives who, coincidentally, are celebrating the Legend Festival. This is a festival that is held yearly, and tells of a local legend. Carol, an islander, tells Marin, the boat captain, that she's far too old for the role of festival maiden this year, and her little sister Melody is handling it. We get to see this Melody, and she's dressed like a damn hipster. She screams 2000 in every piece of clothing she wears, down to the sunglasses. She even gives Ash a kiss. See you later, virgins. One thing that catches me off guard is how Melody knows Misty's name, but I chalk it up to her being a gym leader, I guess. They never formally introduce themselves. We get to see snippets of the festival, a Gyarados puppet, the festival snacks. You know, I've always wondered what it would be like to go to a festival like this. Perhaps one day when I make enough money on OnlyFans. Subscribe to that, by the way. It pays the bills. Not long after, we cut to the center of the island where the legend ceremony begins. Here we get to see Melody, dressed as the maiden, play a special song, as well as tell us of the chosen one. Ash was the one who was chosen earlier on, and it's mostly a ceremonial role. Melody tells Ash that he has to go to the 3 islands and seek their treasures, 3 glass orbs kept at their altars, which when brought back are presented to the maiden. She celebrates by playing a song, and that's that. You know, there's one thing about this movie that I don't like, and it's the whole girlfriend banter between Melody and Misty. It's just so damn unnecessary to me. I don't know if it's like that in the Japanese version, but it took me out a few times. Like, I don't need it. This whole movie would have been better without it. Also, we get to see the coolest cat in the entire movie, Slowking, who gave me the funniest line that I still use to this day.
I could use pants.
Despite seeing the storm is bad, Ash decides to cut to the chase and retrieve the orbs. Pikachu takes his hat and runs down the stairs, accompanied by Carol, who provides her boat. Here's when we see water. That's right, everyone. The Giga Chats at OLM managed to once again make some banger water animations, and I gotta say they're absolutely gorgeous. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give these animations a solid 1000 out of 10. In all seriousness, the animation continues being fluid here, pun intended, as we see Ash and Carol shooting off towards Fire Island. Braving the increasing storm, the boat shoots out of the water and slams into a hidden rock, taking the rudder off completely. By some miracle, they make it to Fire Island and Pikachu takes off, leading Ash towards the stairs that lead to the altar of fire. Oh yes, Team Rocket is here as well. They were actually present earlier in their Magikarp submarine, but they managed to sneak aboard Melody's boat, and when they landed on Fire Island, they got carried off in the wind as they deployed the emergency raft. You know, Team Rocket easily doomed these kids. If something happened to that boat and their lifeboat was gone, well, let's just say I know of another ship that didn't have enough lifeboats. It didn't go well for that last one. It isn't long before Melody, Tracy, and Misty arrive on Fire Island after a harrowing crossing through the ocean. Marin tells them that Ash is up at the altar and her boat is damaged. This is when their boat begins to slip and Melody engages the sails. You know, almost hitting Tracy on the head. I don't think I'd mind that, actually. We get some more of his girlfriend is here bullshit that I just didn't care for. Again, I think this whole thing could have been left out. Literally nothing would be lost here, but I guess Misty is an easy girl to tease. I have no idea. I gotta say, Carol better have some boat insurance because her rudder is fucked. Melody is pushing that bastard up those stone steps. There's no way it's living that. Up in the skies, we go back to the main antagonist, who is standing in front of Moltres like a smarmy prick. This is why I hate this douchebag. With Mewtwo, I can sympathize. He's a Pokemon who is confused, running on anger and hell-bent on getting revenge. But this guy? Nah, he doesn't deserve that. He's just standing in front of this Pokemon who's clearly suffering, and he just grins. Oh, poor Moltres, you seem so miserable. Fuck you, dude. It's disgusting what this man does to this poor innocent fire chicken. Hearing a beep from his computer, he is told that Zapdos is nearby. We return to Ash, who's at the altar of fire, and Pikachu gestures to the sphere, which he manages to take. You know, I always wondered what these spheres were made out of. The one Ash takes here has flames inside it, and it looks like a glass orb, yet it isn't. Like, what are these things made out of? Magic? Maybe Pokemon made them? I'm not sure, but I like little details like this. Especially the fire orb that has flames inside it, the lightning orb which has crackling lightning, and the final orb, the ice orb, which also has a bit of ice energy in it. It's a rather unique item. You'd think the islanders would just use regular old fake artifacts for this thing, but no. It seems as though they use genuine artifacts. It's fucking wild. As Ash and Pikachu turn around, we get to see the first Team Rocket motto of the movie. Or not. Sadly, we're gonna have to catch it on video because the storm is getting bad. And in comes Melody, Misty, and Tracy on their flying boat. Earlier, we get to see how Melody manages to do this, and it's so dumb, but holy crap is the idea of a flying sailboat cool as hell. I also love how she handles the waves. It's as if they're nothing. She's an island girl who grew up around boats and water, so she's completely in her element. Misty, being a water trainer, isn't scared of the water, while Tracy is pissing his pants. I'm there with you, Trace. I love the sea, and I'm fucking horrified of it. Thalassophobia, they call it. Oh, the irony. Being an islander myself and being deathly afraid of the ocean. I should probably see someone about that. Also, can I just say Team Rocket continues being based as hell? I love how Meowth just assumes Jesse and James are going to end up together because they're of the opposite sex. It's hilarious. Team Rocket is at their best in this movie, probably my favorite appearance. Not long after the skies darken and we hear a crackling in the air, this being caused by the legendary Pokemon Zapdos. Due to the vacancy left by Moltres, Zapdos flew from Lightning Island to Fire Island in order to claim it as its own. We get to see this beautiful scene where Zapdos takes power and the whole area turns white. It's as though he's quite literally taking power over this ancient island, as if his power is overtaking Moltres. It's weird to see Pokemon have actual powers like this. You'd think that they're just Pokemon, but no. They have the ability to just do things like this. It's always impressive to see. Humans in this world may capture them, but at any moment, any Pokemon can just unleash its true strength. We also get to see something that has baffled people for years. The fact that Meowth can speak electric bird but doesn't speak electric mouse. I refer to the fact that Meowth somehow understands Zapdos' electric current, but doesn't understand the electric current between Pikachu and Dedenne in the Kalos anime. I don't know exactly how this happens, but, well, it's baffled me for years, that's for sure. Zapdos explains that with Moltres gone, he's taking over the island, effective immediately, but it isn't long before. In comes the main antagonist. Yes, this man has returned, and this time he's gunning for Zapdos. He wastes no time, attacking it like he attacked Moltres. He fires off his capture rings and manages to snag Zapdos. Not only that, but the rings also captured Ash and the group, along with Melody's boat. They're brought into the airship and are greeted by this man. This man never introduces himself to the group, but through the credits, we get to see that his name is Lawrence III. He comes to greet them and asks them what they think of his collection. He speaks of how he wants nothing more than to capture the legendary birds, and Misty is rightfully disgusted. He talks about Pokemon as if they were trophies, mere stamps to be placed in a stamp book. He merely smirks and leaves. He has far too much to do after all. Articuno is still out there. Powerless to do anything, the group remains in place. But Melody notices the tablet behind them, which tells of the Shamudi legend. We cut away, seeing the last remaining bird, Articuno, flying around the archipelago and freezing everything in sight. With the absence of Zapdos and Moltres, the weather has gone out of whack all over the world. One thing that I really didn't like about the movie was the pseudoscience stuff that the professors are talking about. We get to see Professor Ivy speaking to Professor Oak about what's going on in the islands. The weather across the world has grown chaotic, affecting weather patterns and causing Pokemon to start acting wildly. It's as though they know something awful is going on and they want to help. Even if they don't know how, even if they're powerless. Pokemon are deeply in tune with nature, and what Lawrence is doing is affecting them to such a degree that they gather en masse all over the place. The water types and flying types can leave, but those stuck on land gather at the edges of the ocean, unable to do anything, only staring ahead. Professor Oak starts to speak about the three islands, homes of Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, as well as the underwater current. With their absence, this current has gone out of whack, causing the phenomenon that we see. And this part is where I get lost. I get that they're trying to explain the weird weather, but an underwater current? Yes, in the real world, currents are very important. They carry warm water north, allowing for rain and various other types of weather. They are without a doubt the reason why Earth can sustain life. After all, without water, without wind, nothing can really happen. Basic water cycle stuff. But explaining this large current is kept in check by Pokemon is, well, it's interesting, I guess. It's just something so odd to have in this movie to explain what's going on, but that's just me. Once you get to understand what Oak and Ivy are trying to explain to you, it makes a bit more sense. Seeing the world turn into a frozen wasteland honestly speaks to my soul. I love the cold, so ice and snow is my home turf, but even I had to concede here. Articuno is out of control, freezing everything. The imbalance of power has led to this catastrophe, to the point where the entire fate of the world is threatened. All because one man wanted to add Lugia to his collection. In all honesty, this is disturbing how realistic it can be at times. Think about it. The actions of a single man has put the world in danger. It's something that has happened in various other mediums and can happen even now in the real world. Whenever a power imbalance happens, it's due to some idiot messing with the natural flow of things. Though the snow has finally stopped, Articuno hasn't. It continues flying around, freezing the world over. We return to our main cast, where Melody is once again reading the Shamudi prophecy, realizing that it could in fact be coming true. And here's where I get to talk about the prophecy a bit. You see, while I was doing a bit of research, I found out that there were a few changes to the prophecy. Of course, the Japanese version mentions a great trainer will be the one to fulfill it. In the English dub, we get the Chosen One storyline instead. I think it's alright to have in this sort of tale told here. Ash is the main character. It makes sense that he'd be a chosen one of sorts, and he does fit the great trainer shtick as well. Though the main reason why Ash is the chosen one is because of a single line, thus the earth shall turn to ash. This line means that the world will be destroyed if the Titans aren't stopped. It will turn to literal ash, but they interpret the legend as being thus the earth shall turn to ash, as in its time of need, Ash is the chosen one who will rise up and stop the Titans. I think it's kind of cheesy, but it does fit with the premise of the movie, so it's fine. Whenever a prophecy is involved, there will always be a chosen one of sorts that will have to take up the reins and fulfill it. Ash fits the bill here. Plus, the way the dubbed version is written sounds a lot more poetic in a way. It's an old legends, and legends usually tend to be romanticized a lot. The Japanese version speaks of gods, that when disturbed, a powerful trainer will stop. But how did the ancients who wrote this prophecy know about Pokemon training? Using Arceus and the Jewel of Life as a reference here, in the old days, Pokemon were called magical creatures and trainers were called creature masters. Perhaps not all cultures are the same, but I believe something along these lines would happen here. Why would they mention a great trainer and not a great tamer or something like that? I'm sure in the old days, people wouldn't associate someone as a trainer, but rather as a beast tamer. I think it's perfectly fine that the dub has a chosen one aspect to it. It's for a brand new audience after all. Does it change the meaning a bit? Yeah, but that's okay. I think it's a perfectly fine change in my book. Personally, I think it fits the theme better, and the prophecy itself is more memorable this way. Hell, to this day I can still quote this prophecy word for word without having to look it up. That's how much it stuck with me, to the point where at one time I used it for a school poetry project and broke down the meaning of it and my interpretation of it. It's a good prophecy. I think everybody can get behind a chosen one story after all. Anakin Skywalker was a chosen one, yet no one complains about that, do they? Well, I'm sure someone did at some point, but why? Why did I spend time talking about this? Oh, that's because while doing research, I ran into the shitty blog basically saying that this movie sucked and was worse than Mewtwo Strikes Back. Apparently they hated that movie as well, which just baffles the hell out of me. My flabbers were gasted, I tell you what. I think 4Kids did a fantastic job with what they were given. There's always this discourse of sub versus dubbed, and people will always prefer one or the other, but you have to remember, this movie came out in the early 2000s. We didn't have Funimation or Crunchyroll or pirate sites. You wanted to watch Pokemon, you had to sit down and watch the kids WB block like the rest of us, or catch it in theaters if you were lucky to find a theater even playing it. 4Kids was how many of us got into anime in the first place. I still remember the WB programming block when I used to live in Florida. Sonic X, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Shaolin Showdown. Those Saturdays were epic, plus 4Kids gave us some banger dubs. To this day, the only dub of One Piece I remember is the 4Kids dub, and it was because it was one of the first ones that made it out here. Some of the best VAs from that era made my childhood that much better. Contrary to popular belief, Butch Hartman wasn't the man who created my childhood. It was 4Kids, and I will forever hold him in my heart. Returning to the movie, upon realizing what was going on, Ash and the gang team up to free Zapdos and Moltres, with Team Rocket helping out as well. At the same time, Lawrence is attempting to catch Articuno, and with it, Lugia would have no choice but to surface. But he doesn't, because in the bowels of his trophy room, Ash and his friends are fighting to free the birds that he already has. This eventually ends with both of them being free and causes his airship to crash on Lightning Island. The group ends up making it out alive and are almost crushed by the ship, and coincidentally, Ash happens to grab the lightning orb from the now destroyed lightning altar. Zapdos and Moltres begin their fight, and they are left with no option but to leave, hopping on Melody's boat. The funny moment here is with Team Rocket, with Meowth being the first and only person to mention shit in the entire series. Yes, it's impressive that bathrooms were never mentioned in Pokemon, at least not in the dub, but he's right. These birds are massive ice, fire, and lightning seagulls. The last thing I need is to be blasted with their crap. They begin falling over a waterfall and are caught by a spiraling vortex of water and carried all the way to Shamoody Island. Also, this is where we have the first and only casualty of the movie, Carol's boat. Gone, but not forgotten. You served your duty, friend. Time for you to rest easy. Man, I really hope Carol has boat insurance. Also, I'll be adding this here, but there's this part where Team Rocket deployed the raft. Earlier, you see them float away, and I guess it was the boat cover or something. I mistook it for the raft. No, it's here when they deploy it. I wanted to go back and change that entire part, but meh. It's too much work. So I'm not gonna change it. So here, have another Titanic breaking in half reference. Heading to the altar upon Slowking's insistence, Ash puts the fire and lightning orbs into place. Slowking then says they're one short. It's here where Slowking addresses Ash by name and he asks how he knows. I remember that one tidbit from the crappy blog I read basically wondering the same thing, and all I gotta say is Slowking is half psychic. He could have easily read Ash's mind. It's a non-issue here. Plus he brought the two treasures, and Slowking knows the prophecy. It isn't a stretch of the imagination for him to wonder if this is Ash. Regardless of that, we see the three birds are fighting each other. Ash attempts to stop them but is powerless to do so. But then comes the beast of the sea, and I gotta say, seeing Lugia's shadow through the vortex is freaking cool. The sleeping giant has been aroused by these three birds and feels he has to come out to stop them. With a single beat of his massive wings, he dispels the water and faces the three birds. This scene has always remained ingrained in my mind. It's so damn awesome to see this massive Pokemon from the depths of the ocean rise out, ready to fight to save the world. At the same time, Lawrence is watching, smirking as his true desires finally manifest. He has wanted Lugia this whole time, and he will bide his time just a little bit longer to get what he wants. Melody recites a passage from the prophecy, realizing that Lugia won't be strong enough to defeat the Angry Bird trio. Zapdos' Thunderbolt gets through, and that allows Moltres and Articuno to land hits as well, ending the fight for the moment. At the same time, Professor Oak, Professor Ivy, and Delia are in a helicopter heading towards Shamudi Island, where they eventually crash. Massive amounts of Pokemon gather on the frozen ocean, ready and willing to do anything, but they're all powerless to do anything. This is also where we get confirmation that Ash is in fact the chosen one. He's frightened, but he steps up to the plate. Of course, he only matches the legend because of a slight pun. We also get another funny line of Ash wishing his mom had named him Bob. Bob Ketchum from Pallet Town. It doesn't sound right. Ash knows eventually he will have to go to Ice Island to get the last remaining orb, and it is here where Melody remembers Lugia's cries and plays the song. Lugia regains a part of his strength, telling them that the song has helped, but it alone will not be enough. The song has restored my strength, but it alone cannot bring harmony to the warring ones. What do you mean? Ash asks curiously, and thus Lugia elaborates. When the treasures of fire, ice, and lightning are aligned, my song shall harmonize with their power and tame the beast both above and below the sea. But this can only come to pass with the help of the chosen one. But what can I do that somebody else can't? The trainer asks. Only in the hands of the true chosen one will the ice sphere glow like the others, its power awakened. This part, along with Lugia rising from the ocean bathed in golden light, it has a lot of godlike imagery. It feels almost as if a god is floating above the hero, giving him a sacred duty that only he may fulfill. And for all intents and purposes, Lugia is a god. It is a legendary Pokemon, often revered as gods, so it makes sense. Ash realizes that he has to at least try to make it to Ice Island. We see Ash staring at the distant island, the frozen ocean, and the fighting bird Pokemon, and he grows scared, doubtful, but Pikachu, his partner, is there, telling him he can do it. His other Pokemon come out of their Pokeballs and cheer him on. And I think this is so cool. It's nice seeing his team encourage him, knowing it's so dangerous, but he still does it because he has to. No one else will, so he descends, feeling more like the frozen one instead of the chosen one. Seeing the broken corpse of Carol's boat, he uses some rope and a panel and attaches it to Charizard, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle and gets pulled toward the island. And honestly, as cool as this looks, it's kinda dumb. Why not just get on Charizard's back? I get why Lugia didn't take him. Lugia has to keep the Titans away so Ash can make it safely to Ice Island, but Charizard could have easily carried him. He's flown on him before. I don't know, I guess I just wanted to make the journey more epic. Also, rip Bulbasaur's feet. Poor guy is a grass type, weak to ice, and he has to run over a frozen tundra pulling a damn sled. The bird trio manages to stop Ash in his tracks, and here it is where we get help from unlikely heroes. The helicopter that crashed earlier gave Team Rocket the supplies they needed to create an airboat. Using an engine and the back rotor of the helicopter, they catch up to Ash and Pikachu and help him. Their reasoning is that without a world, they won't be able to steal Pokemon. They'd be out of a job. So they help Ash. It's really nice to see them do this for a change. Honestly, I think the best parts of the anime are where Team Rocket and Ash can set aside their differences and work together. Jesse, James, and Meowth may be members of Team Rocket, but they're a lot kinder to their Pokemon than the black uniform members. James is the only trainer who asks all of his Pokemon if they want to join him, and is genuinely kind to them. Jesse has shown both skill and passion toward coordinating. And Meowth? Well, Meowth is just thirsty for Giovanni's lap. And honestly, I can't blame him. If Yai Miko asked me to lay my head on her lap and started to pet me, I would fucking melt. These three helping Ash was hype. They make it up to the altar, and it's here where Ash gets the ice orb, but Articuno comes in and tries to attack, so they try to leave, only for their raft to be destroyed. They run over to the side of the mountain, and Lugia tells Ash to get on. He starts flying towards Shmoody Island, and here, Team Rocket heroically sacrifice themselves because they're weighing Lugia down. They even allude to Weight Watchers, a weight loss program from the late 90s that I don't think even exists anymore. It's a funny one that people of this generation likely wouldn't get. I don't know how they think they're weighing Lugia down. I'm sure he can handle the weight, but they let go regardless. They accept their fate, but they don't die, instead landing in water. Thankfully, the ice was broken beforehand. This is where we get another epic showdown between Moltres and Zapdos, and of course Lugia. Articuno was attacked and defeated earlier, so it's the pair that started it all, and Lugia manages to shake them off for the time being. Flying overhead, Ash is surprised to see all of the Pokemon that have arrived. In the original Japanese version, Ash says that it's awesome to see all of those Pokemon there and asks Lugia if it's also a Pokemon, and he responds that he is, and that they all live together in this beautiful world of theirs. Of course, in English, there's a bit more of a conversation here. Ash asks why they're all there, with Lugia saying they're all there because they feel as though they have to be. That one Pokemon could help the world would be worth their journey for thousands of them any day. But this day, the one that can make the difference is you. While it is a nice sentiment, I do feel that it makes it so that the fate of the world hinges on Ash a bit too much, but I do like it. At the end of the day, chosen one or not, Ash is the only one who can save the world at this exact moment. And of course, the moment is ruined by the return of Lawrence, who ends up firing upon Lugia. His intentions clear.
Why don't you go fuck yourself, you weird little prick?
Lugia fights, and we get to see one of the most badass moments in the movie. Lugia unleashes its signature attack, Arrow Blast, destroying Lawrence III's ship. And can I just say how fucking cool this move looks? The move starts off as several small strands of power coalescing into this powerful attack that is so fucking fast it forms a Mach cone around it. Whatever gets hit with this, it is done. And Lugia unleashes two of them in rapid succession, the second one a direct hit on Zapdos and Moltres, and also breaks apart the ice. Over the years, a lot of people have theorized that this attack is actually Hyper Beam, but I don't think it is. If it was Hyper Beam, how could Lugia fire it a second time? Hyper Beam is the strongest normal type move in existence. So strong, in fact, that it needs time to recharge. If it was Hyper Beam, Lugia wouldn't have been able to pull it twice. Also, fun fact, Lugia can't even learn Hyper Beam through level up. So case closed, the move is Aero Blast, not Hyper Beam. Regardless of that, Ash falls and Lugia has failed. A feeling I too feel whenever I roll on a gacha game and fail to get my waifu. Don't worry, Firefly, you're coming home and I'll be goddamned if you're not. Misty goes to rescue Ash, and before that we get some of that shipping bullshit that I don't like. Melody wants to be the one to help Ash, but Misty refuses, and she hits us with, Ash is never truly alone because he's got me, and I just...
Oh my god! Fuck!
I cannot stand it, and no, it's not because it's shipping bait, but because I generally think shipping brings nothing good to the table. I'm a fan of shipping though, ironically enough. After all, I think Ash and Dawn are the best romantic pairing in the series. Eat your heart out, Amore shippers. I love Serena, but she's still the second best to Dawn. Ha! Still, Misty brings Ash in, and despite being hurt, he pushes through everything. Tracy tries to help him, but he refuses, and eventually he places the ice orb in the altar, and this leads to one of my favorite musical pieces in cinematic history. Yes, even better than Tears of Life, we get Lugia's song. This song has been my go-to whenever I feel stressed or cannot sleep, and as someone who battles with insomnia, it helps. It's a song that reminds me of my childhood. I think of a calmer, more peaceful time. Hearing the ocarina slowly being joined by other orchestral instruments, the soft melody slowly evolving into this heartfelt, hopeful ensemble is a treat to the ears. Ash gets to tame the sea beast. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres are at peace. The Pokemon return home, and Lawrence III sees the world returning back to its normal self after he caused all of it to be in chaos. The Titans return to their islands, the prophecy has been fulfilled, and Lugia returns to the bottom of the sea, guarding until the next time it needs to rise. Everything is back to normal. This is when Delia meets up with Ash, who is rightfully worried about her son after seeing all of this. She ends up saying that no matter what, Ash will always be her hero, and promises to save the world a little closer to home. That dumb blog I read pointed out that Ash could have given the GS ball to Professor Oak here, and I'm like, yes. Because after almost dying countless fucking times and literally being shocked and almost drowning, my first thought is yes, let me give Professor Oak the GS ball. Give me a fucking break. The movie begins to close out. and we see Lawrence pick up the ancient Mew card that began his collection, and he remarks that he will rebuild it, and hopefully this time you won't endanger the world, you dickhead. Team Rocket returns to Shamuti Island, and we get possibly the grandest Team Rocket fourth wall break ever, with Slowking pointing out that their exploits were being watched by thousands, including us. And so, we close out this wonderful movie hearing The Power of One by Donna Summers, a beautiful song that was quoted by the late Herman Cain, and I still fucking laugh at this, because the thought of a politician referencing Pokemon is fantastic. Except for when Hillary Clinton did it. Fuck you, Hillary, and fuck Pokemon Go to the polls. Go fuck yourself, you stupid bitch. That stupid blog also said that this next song was god-awful. Excuse me, but how can you say Pokemon is god-awful? Dude, this song slaps. Weird Al Yankovic singing a Pokemon song? Dude, you must be off your rocker to not like this song. I still remember the words of this entire thing because I loved it that much as a kid. I mean, come on. Geodude and Arcanine, Jigglypuff and Mr. Mime. Don't forget about Sandslash, Execute and Rapidash, Victory Bell and Porygon. Everybody Pokemon. If you hate that, go fuck yourself. We also get some third song that I legit do not remember. Flying Without Wings or something. I think that's what it's called. I genuinely do not remember. But yes, this is the end. And unlike my last review, I'll detail a few other things here. This movie was made in 1999 and released in America in the year 2000, and you can immediately tell this one had a far larger budget. The animation is a lot more colorful here. It's very fluid as well. The colors are vibrant and full of life, reflecting the setting of the Orange Islands, a beautiful tropical archipelago filled with so many varying cultures and plants. Shamuti Island is, I believe, covered in hibiscus flowers, which look very pretty when flowing through the wind. The storm looks a lot more dangerous here, and the rougher seas reflect the disturbed weather patterns. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres' attacks look very threatening. The plumes of flame resemble actual fire, and Zapdos' electricity is great. You can feel the buzz in the air whenever it unleashes an attack. Articuno's ice attacks are also very well done. Seeing it freeze the ocean in thick layers of ice, firing ice beams, it was incredibly well done. Also, the scene where Articuno is flying across the sky during the sunset, you can see the partial break in the clouds and this majestic bird flying through it. It's very beautiful. The CGI ship was also pretty well done in my opinion, and contrasts well with the animation. One thing that blog mentioned was how the CGI looked awful. I don't know what to tell you, Chief, but if you came to a Pokemon movie expecting Toy Story 2 level graphics and CGI, you're watching the wrong movie. For what it was, I think it was perfectly fine, though I do have trouble believing a ship that massive can actually remain aloft with those propellers spinning so slowly. There is no actual way that thing would fly. Plus, it looks like the main part of it is made with bricks. Definitely magic is being used here. The water animation, again, is very beautiful. Seeing the rough waves and Marin's boat struggling with them lets you know how dangerous the journey is. Yet you see Carol's boat cutting through them with ease because this one was designed for speed rather than cruising. Seeing the water pool at the end overflow and begin flowing into the ocean, as well as all of the pillars turning to crystal, was an excellent touch. The pillars light up with Melody's notes and was a good way to visualize the harmonizing music. The plot of this movie can be a bit cliche, I'll agree. The Chosen Ones isn't exactly necessary, but I believe that with the context of this movie, it was handled great. I do feel that with the original, the Great Trainer could be anyone, but it being changed to Ash being the main character fits well with the Western release of this movie. There are parts I didn't like the whole girlfriend stuff with Melody and Misty that could have been done without. Also, Brock being a cameo kind of annoyed me. I kind of wanted him to do something more, but I guess it's fine as it is. Lugia as the box legendary was a fantastic choice. A lot of people seem to like Lugia more than Ho-Oh, and I'm in that camp as well. We wouldn't get a movie with Ho-Oh being the main focus until 2017 with I Choose You. Christ, why did it take that long? Overall, it was a fantastic movie with a musical score that I still listen to this day. A lot of these same songs would be used in the Pokemon anime as well and are fantastic. The intro song, Pokemon World, was interpreted by Youngtown and Nobody's Angel, which was great, though I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea who these bands even are. There is a bonus concert of sorts included in the original DVD release of this movie, and I gotta say, they all dress like fucking hipsters too. I can see where Melody gets it. All in all, I am confident that this movie holds up, just like Mewtwo Strikes Back. Watching it brought me back to the time I was in Florida, those precious childhood memories that sometimes seem fleeting. Lugia's song is my time machine. I remember replaying that scene over and over again, and this was before I had an iPod, so I couldn't even rip it off the internet and listen to it. I always imagined myself in Ash's shoes, wanting to be the chosen one, to ride on Lugia and save the world. As a kid growing up without many friends and an overactive imagination, there's nothing more cool than that. That, of course, led me to choosing Pokemon Silver when it came to playing Gen 2, and when Heart Gold and Soul Silver were released, of course, I chose Soul Silver. I even have a shiny Lugia that I caught in Ultra Moon in under 2 hours, and it's one of my proudest captures. Lugia is one of my favorite legendary Pokemon, and the one that will hold a place near and dear in my heart, because there's no listening to Lugia's song without thinking about Lugia. After all, this is his song. So I'm confidently sliding this movie into the Master Ball category, because it's a movie that reminds me of happier times, of times where I watched it so many goddamn times that the disc refuses to work. Thankfully, I was able to watch it via a combo pack that I got with the first 3 movies, but that also means I had to do without one of the greatest shorts ever made. Huh? Hold on, wait a minute. Do you hear that? Ah yes, I see. I suppose it's time to become a pirate. The short for this Pokemon movie is called Pikachu's Rescue Adventure. This time around, Pikachu and friends end up following Togepi away from the camp, and as Pikachu and friends try to get him back, they end up falling down a hole. And I gotta say, this is one hell of a way to introduce a Pokemon short. Coming to the Rescue is such a bop. This song is really good. You get to see Pikachu and his friends bouncing around the stone tunnel while the song plays, and all I can think about is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. In fact, I consider this the unofficial theme song of the series. This all started with a rescue, and it leads to our Poke friends finding a new adventure. They end up arriving to the tree and being carried away by Ladybug. They wander around seeing all of these new Pokemon living in harmony. We even get to see more Johto Pokemon. Ladybug aren't the only ones. We get to see some dancing Blossom as well in this cute little musical number with a bunch of dancing Pokemon. Soon enough, a storm rolls in and Togepi, who has been placed in a nest, is almost blown away, but Bulbasaur manages to grab the nest before it does. This ends up with Bulbasaur being pulled, leading to a chain reaction of Pokemon grabbing and failing to hold each other. They struggle, almost losing their grip, but soon a Dragonair comes and changes the weather and Togepi is saved. Eventually, we see that the Pokemon in the nest were Execute, which are reunited with their missing member and start dancing on a leaf stone, which leads to his evolution into Executor. Pikachu and friends, having rescued Togepi, return to camp, bidding farewell to their new Pokemon friends. They return as if nothing had happened, the memories of this adventure staying with them and them alone. As an intro to a movie, it is very good, a step above Pikachu's Vacation. I enjoyed this one a lot, and the bop at the beginning is fantastic. I've actually heard it in several different languages and it still rocks. Even the Finnish version kicks ass. Overall, I enjoyed my time with this short as well. The fond memories I have playing Explorers of Sky, traversing through the dungeons, and listening to Coming to the Rescue are the ones I cherish the most. I am immediately reminded of one day in 2010 during Thanksgiving. Long after I had moved away from Florida, me and my folks always cook early, and I usually take the duty of roasting the turkey, and I remember clearly sitting in the kitchen playing through Explorers of Sky for the umpteenth time and listening to this song on my 2nd gen white iPod Nano. I remember finally getting through Aegis Cave and unlocking the extra area, and the song restarted just as we went in to take care of the Reggies. Help's on the way, we hear your call, motherfucker. Ah, such good memories. Returning to the review for a moment, I will be sliding Pikachu's Rescue Adventure right next to the Power of One in the Master Ball category. I believe this movie is wonderfully done, from the animation to the story to the musical score. It was the perfect sequel in the series, one that will always be recommended to my friends and fellow Pokemon fans. But the true question is Lord of the Unknown Tower better than the Power of One? We shall see, won't we? This has been Celestia the Renegade signing off for the time being. Have yourselves a nice day or night wherever you are, and thank you for watching. Subscribe to my OnlyFans.